Welcome into the Big Chief Show on Chief Studios. I am Fred Davis. That's the man, the myth, the legend, the one, the only. Bit of Mike Babbo, who is probably in the best mood I think I've ever seen for Mr. Babbo following a Raiders loss. They did everything. I mean, look, we've kind of switched roles today. You're feeling pretty good about things, rightfully so. Your team's trending in the right direction, and after being a 14-point dog on Sunday, and look, the one thing all you asked for was let's be competitive and let's not let this thing get boat raced, and the Raiders were in this thing to the very end. And again, look, I think. And I know you'll talk a little bit about the defense. I'm going to still say that offensively, I like what you guys are doing. I like the fact that Josh Jacobs is finally starting to look like the Josh Jacobs that we all expected him to look like this year, especially when you consider what this guy was like last year. And really, let's call it what it is. I mean, we're acting like this dude was a 6th-round draft pick. I mean, Josh Jacobs was a 1st-round draft pick, for God's sake, right? Like, this guy, I mean, he went to Alabama. So, Josh Jacobs is an elite talent and has been for a very long time. So, it's good to finally, God forbid, you finally start to, put the ball in your best player's hands. Look, you and I are going to disagree on this. I still think Jimmy G gives you your best chance to win. I at least like to see him get a shot because there's just too many times with Adrian O'Connell, and I get it. He's a 5th-round draft pick, so we got to take, we got to take it with a grain of salt. But I still think that, with where you guys are at, with where positioning is right now in the playoffs, I think that bottom tier of the AFC is wide open. Those 3 spots, I think, are wide open. You guys are still within striking distance, and I just feel like Jimmy G. I think the message has been sent to Jimmy G. I think that the feeling, the culture, the vibe around that place is completely different. I'm not saying he's going to go in there and be, Tom Brady or Joe Montana, but again, this is a guy that's been to a Super Bowl before. You know what you're going to get with Jimmy G. He's a vet. And oh, by the way, I think the one thing, and I think you'll agree with this, Mike, that demonstrates what a professional Jimmy G is. You know what happened when he got benched? Nothing. He didn't go on social.
He didn't say a word.
He didn't go on social media. He didn't have his people say anything. There was nobody tweeting out anything about, he's getting a raw deal or anything like that. Now, you could argue, the guy's got a 3-year, $72 million contract. So at the end of the day, all right, hey, whatever, I'm getting my money regardless. But that's the kind of professionalism that you get from a guy like a Jimmy G. And that's why I think if he starts to struggle a little bit against his Chiefs defense on Sunday, which is a very real possibility, again, I'm not saying Jimmy G goes back to being that guy, but again, we've seen more out of Jimmy G. He's got more pelts on the wall, and I really don't think you're going to hinder Adrian O'Connell's development if a Jimmy G steps back in and plays what he's capable of doing.
Well, no, Fred, and your argument took a big leap forward because one of the reasons why Jimmy G was benched for the rookie Adrian O'Connell is because he threw too many interceptions. At the time of his benching, he led the league with picks with, I think, 9. And so they figured
10 or something like that,
9 or 10, but they figured, okay, we know what we got with Jimmy G. Let's see what we got with our rookie 5th rounder. I think it actually was a 4th rounder, but either way. So they wanted to kick the tires on him, and so and keep in mind that they were 3-5 at the time. They didn't really know what kind of a reaction what was going to come out of the locker room. They were hopeful that it was going to be turned around, the attitude was going to be turned around. And all of a sudden, boom, 2 weeks later, they are 5-5 and they're in the playoff hunt. So they switch from, okay, let's take a look at what we've got for the future to, hey, we're in this thing and we can win now.
Yeah.
And so when the rookie quarterback starts turning the ball over like he did 3 times last week and overthrowing receivers like he did, I mean, he missed a wide open Devontae Adams on what could have been a short touchdown. Now, he had a nice 46-yard bomb in the second quarter, which is probably his best pass all year. But when he's missing wide receivers like Jimmy G was doing in that last game against Detroit, when he's throwing interceptions like Jimmy G did in Detroit, and you've got an opportunity to make a playoff run, especially if you somehow steal a win again. Look, everybody on Raiders Twitter, all of Raiders Nation was saying what I was saying. Let's just play hard to the whistle, to the final whistle. Let's just play competitively. You get to that game, the defense forces 3 Miami turnovers, and all they got out of it was 6 points. and they're thinking, okay, the tide has shifted a bit. And they're thinking, okay, we can win this game. And then you take a look at how the Chiefs did offensively against the Eagles after taking, a 17-7 lead and just basically laying a goose egg against the Eagles defense. 5 drop passes, 4 in the fourth quarter, 26 overall. Raiders Nation is thinking, hey, we got a chance against this Chiefs team. We got a chance to at least make some noise here. So if AOC continues to turn the ball over, they may switch gears here, Freddie D. So I'm not poo-pooing it as much as I did last week.
I think so, because I'm gonna tell you right now, what you're gonna run into with AOC is, again, like you said, he's a 4th round pick. And look, I'm not trying to dog this kid, but I just it's one of those deals where there's just something like, and I can't remember who it was. Maybe it was Rich Gannon. I've been listening to a lot of Rich Gannon here lately. Where, like you said, it was one of those deals where they threw him in there, and then they're like, all right, we didn't expect to have him play as much as he's playing in 2023. And again, it's not his fault, right? I mean, is this a kid that could turn into something? Possibly. All right. But, look, I look at that Chiefs defense and what they've done in the last few weeks, and really what they've done all year long. I just worry a little bit that, look, if that pressure comes, and of course, I don't care what quarterback you got. I mean, hell, we know that's the kryptonite for any NFL quarterback. But if you're hanging around and he's spitting the ball up, you got to believe that if the Raiders are in striking distance in the second half, and I think look, I don't know what the spread is right now. I could certainly see this game. That spread's 9.5. Really?
9.5. Yeah.
I would look. I'm taking the Raiders in the points all day. I'm taking the Raiders in the points all day.
This is a division matchup. It's in Vegas. The crowd is fired up. They're now tickets are now going to Raider Nation as opposed to the opposing team. Yeah. AP's got these guys drinking the Kool-Aid. Absolutely. And the defense is playing better than anybody would have expected. Certainly way better than I would have expected. Max Crosby is a defensive player of the year candidate right now with 10 sacks. You're absolutely right. I jumped on that spread this morning pretty deep.
No, 9.5 seems, and I get it, because here's the thing about the Chiefs, and this is what we're running into, and this is what you and I have talked about this ad nauseum, and this is one of those deals where, we don't have the luxury of a trade deadline anymore. It's not that there's nothing that you're going to go do to go make this team better, right? Like that's over. That's done. I mean, and it's one of those deals where this isn't like baseball, right? Where, okay, if a guy gets into a hitting slump, all right, if Jose Altuve struggles in the month of August and September, guess what? We got a pretty good feeling that, we think he might bounce back in October because, by God, that's what he's done. And that's what good hitters do, right? If you've always dropped the ball, right? Like, this is the issue we're faced with, is that there's nothing other than, the only thing that the Chiefs receivers can do is, quote unquote, step up. Like that. There's nothing else. Marquez Valdez-Scantling is going to still be 6'4", 220, or whatever the hell he is, still run faster than pretty much everybody else on the field. But guess what? Still has, what was that damn butter? Country crock?
Only on margin.
You know what I'm saying? Like that's what I can't even, just thinking about MVS gets me flustered. Sky Moore is still the same dog shit receiver through 12 weeks that he's been through his entire career. And we suddenly think that, he's going to turn it around in the next 6 weeks? Rashee Rice. And the thing that I don't understand, too, that's a little unnerving for me, and this is just an Andy Reid-ism, is, okay, so you ran for 121 yards in the first half. You ran for more yards in the first half against Philadelphia than they'd given up all season long. And then you run the ball 8 times in the second half.
Yeah, you went 20 rush attempts in the first half as opposed to 12 pass attempts. And I will say that the receivers, including Sky Moore and Kadarius Toney, they made some nice catches on third down. And so maybe Andy Reid and Matt Nagy said, hey, maybe we've reached a turning point here. And so they flipped the switch and they only rushed eight, like you said, attempts in the second half. You know what? The old adage is, if it isn't broke, don't fix it. You know, you were running the ball down their throat, for crying out loud. And you were controlling the tempo of the game, and you were keeping Jalen Hurts, and you were getting A.J. Brown flustered. You saw that in the second quarter on the sidelines, right? After that interception, he was just jawing with and Hurts, being ever the professional and team guy, he didn't say a word. And I don't know who the teammate was who was trying to break it up, but, you know, A.J. Brown.
I think it might have been Devontae Smith.
It may have been Devontae Smith, who's, you know, it makes sense because Devontae, ever the professional, has been a man forgotten since like week 2 of the NFL season because A.J. Brown's been all touches because he's been a fucking diva because he didn't get the ball the first 2 weeks. He's getting blanketed double coverage like he should be. And he had 1 catch for 8 yards in that second quarter. That's the only catch he had in the entire game. You know, and here he is bitching. And they were, you know, and they were still in the game, you know, and they end up winning the game. So, you know, I just don't understand what Andy Reid and Matt Nagy were thinking by flipping the switch like we're doing because they were absolutely controlling the tempo of the game. They were up 17-7. This is a chance where they can actually put some points in the second half for the first time in 3 weeks. And it was just really puzzling to me, Freddie, why they did what they did.
Well, but you know, Andy Reid that's kind of his thing. I mean, Andy Reid is notorious for getting away from the run. You know, I mean, he's done that at every, you know, both in Philadelphia and in Kansas City. And he's done that in games where, you know, you just kind of scratch your head and think to yourself, you know, let's just put these guys away. And of course, you know, the problem is when you got a quarterback like Pat Mahomes, it's a lot easier to get seduced into thinking, okay, I mean, you know, I can run the ball.
He can throw it to him. He can put it in their hands like he did with MVS and that touchdown that he dropped. I mean, it was right in the fucking breadbasket. I mean,
you couldn't have. It was the best throw Pat's made all year. I mean, hands down, that was the best. I'll make the argument.
Second only to the 4th and 24 he threw.
I was going to say that 4th and 25 throw. I mean, are you kidding me? And I think it was, you know, and Troy Aikman, I think, does a tremendous job. You know, he said, look, Pat Mahomes is one of the few quarterbacks in the NFL where when it's 4th and 25, you got to be ready because he can put the ball on a dot.
Sure.
And did exactly that. And of course, I mean, look, when Justin Watson is getting 11 targets, that's a problem.
That's a problem.
That's a problem. And
they got drunk. They got a little bit drugged because he made a nice that catch on that touchdown in the first half.
Well, and that one, I mean, you know, and that was one of those.
I mean, he was right there, but hey, he caught the ball. But you know, it's just, I just don't understand. And look, and getting back to the run game, Isaiah Pacheco was running angry in that first half. I mean,
Justin Pacheco ran his ass off in that game.
And you pointed it out. He wasn't running in place like he normally does. He was taking long strides, going north-south, hitting people.
Exactly. Like he looked faster on Monday night. He really did. So I'm with you. You know, Jerick McKinnon was pretty much a non-factor the entire game as well. You know, that was a guy that we kept hearing about that was going to get more touches. And that's not to say that he won't throughout the course of the, you know, the season wears on. But I mean, look, man, we're down to 7 games. The rest, you know, 7 weeks left in the NFL season. And I guess my frustration, and I'll say this, and then we can move on to the games this weekend or tomorrow and Friday. The bigger picture for me, Mike, is that you've got a team, and again, I'm going to use a baseball analogy. And look, I get it. Baseball's different in the sense of you got a whole hell of a lot more players. You got minor league system. You know, it's a different deal, right? You know, baseball's the one deal where, okay, maybe you can. I mean, hell, you know, Justin Verlander was traded after the trade deadline a few years ago when he finally did make his way to the Houston Astros or whatever it was, like a month after the deadline, right?
Yeah, he was traded right before playoff rosters were set, like 2 minutes before on August 31st. Now, I mean, this was previous to the rule changes where there's only one trade deadline. I mean, back then there were 2.
Exactly.
One was the waiver wire trade deadline, which is the deadline, which is July 31st, and then of course the playoff roster deadline, which is August 31st, and he was traded in the latter one.
But Mike, you know, and we could argue, the case again this year is, you had you had an Astro team that again was, and I use the Astros as a comparison a lot because you could argue that right now the Chiefs and the Astros are very synonymous in what's going on with those two respective franchises. When you consider both these teams have been making their runs, it's about 2017. Astros have their run's been a little bit about a year or two longer than what Kansas City's done, but they made a deal at the deadline. They knew they needed pitching this year, and they traded away their top 3 prospects for a guy that's 40 years old. And people are like, well, the Chiefs have salary cap, and the NFL, the draft is so much more important. Look, not saying it's not.
But that's in April. That's fucking in April. You got a chance to get the number 1 seed in the AFC right now, and you've got a Super Bowl team in every position except for one. That wide receiver. And it's glaringly obvious.
And you know what? I think you could make the argument you've got your Super Bowl caliber at all but 2 positions. Look, if you take away Travis Kelce from the tight end room, that tight end room sucks. Okay, I'm sorry, but that tight end room is not. Look, Blake Bell's great at blocking. Okay, Noah Gray's a good blocker. All right, and somebody texted or tweeted today about Jody Fortson. I'm sorry, but if you're hurt every year, that doesn't count. I don't care how good you are if you're not on the field.
Durability, availability.
Veach has been so good at everything, at O-line building, defensively. This guy, look at what he's done with that defense in the last 2 years. Look at how he's turned that defense around.
Yeah,
but that guy has been a disaster at receivers. Now, Rashee Rice might help turn that around a little bit, but you gave $30 million to MVS, who, as you and I have already talked about, has been it was the same, is literally the same guy that he was in Green Bay, except now he's wearing red. It's the only difference. It's the only difference. He went from a great Hall of Fame quarterback in Green Bay to a great Hall of Fame quarterback, and Aaron Rodgers is the one quarterback that I will say that I'm not going to err on the side of caution and say, well, no, him and Pat Mahomes, the way they play are 1A, 1B. You could argue that Pat Mahomes is a better teammate. I think we could all probably agree that he's a better teammate in that sense.
Yeah, that's pretty obvious. Yeah,
But I don't think Aaron Rodgers is as bad a teammate as people give him credit for. I think he's just a little.
He's just a diva. Okay, there's just too much spotlight put on him. That I think we can all agree on that.
Think about it.
It's all Aaron all the time. That's all everybody talks about the last 3 off seasons. Either with his harangues with the Green Bay brass for drafting Jordan Love to. Not getting a wide receiver.
But see, think about this, okay? And think about this now, because this makes a lot. But I want you to think about when you're a quarterback, all right? And look, I get what Brett Veach is trying to do for Mahomes and stuff like that. Whereas, the Green Bay, it's like, look, instead of drafting receivers, instead of drafting running backs, instead of drafting, you draft a quarterback in the first. I get, and I think too, the thing with Aaron Rodgers was, we didn't really think he was that big of an asshole until COVID rolled around. Nobody really fucked with him until COVID. And then when COVID came around, he was like, yeah, fuck you, I didn't get vaxxed, and da-da-da-da. Then everybody was like, oh, he's the biggest asshole ever. I didn't have a problem with it, but that's another story for another show. So, look, the bottom line is this. Brett Veach, to me, by not trading at the trade deadline, by not improving the roster. And look, I'm not saying you had to go out and get D-Hop. I'm not saying you had to go out and get, some like 1A stud receiver, but there were options out there. You can't tell me there weren't. And maybe you give up 2 draft picks. Maybe you give up a Sky Moore. Not that anybody in Kansas City would have cared. But to basically skirt that and ruin a chance at having not just a Super Bowl caliber team, but having what could be one of the best teams in the last decade. Because if you had receivers that could catch, Mike, with this defense, I'm not saying we're talking about an all-time team of all time here, but you're talking about one of the better teams of this generation. If you've got an offense that's worth a damn.
This defense has been an incredible surprise for Chiefs.
Saved them
for Chiefs Kingdom. Absolutely, it has saved them. Especially when we didn't know if Chris Jones was going to play or how many games he was going to play or how long he was going to sit out.
Hell, he's talking about staying out till week 8.
Yeah. There was a real fear about that. He comes in Did he have to get his sea legs after during week 1? Yeah, sure. But since then, he's balled out.
Didn't take long. I mean, hell, he had a sack and a half his first game.
Yeah, sure. And so their defense has saved them, and it's just so frustrating for Chiefs Kingdom to think all we needed to do was get one decent wide receiver. Hell, there's a couple of guys that are out there that I've been looking at the waiver wire, not the waiver wire, but guys that are sitting at home bagging groceries or watching TV. One is Jarvis Landry, not terrible, right? The other, T.Y. Hilton, granted, he's 34 years old, but he was a solid pro. Even for the Cowboys, he had a pretty decent season. It's got to be, but I mean, you're saying, he's 33, 34 years old, but what do you got now? I mean, why the hell?
I don't worry so much about the age. T.Y. Hilton, the reason why I would stay away from a T.Y. Hilton, he's not much bigger than you. And I think part of the problem with the Chiefs wide receivers is that, and I mean that in all seriousness, like I hand to God, he is the smallest wide NFL player I've ever seen in my life. I stood next to him in a locker room scrum after an Indianapolis Colts-Texans game, and I was just amazed at not so much how little he was, but the fact that, like, you look like just some random dude at an LA Fitness, and yet you've managed to put together a damn good 8-year NFL career. Like, that was what surprised me about T.Y. Hilton. That dude is tiny.
Why not kick the tires on him, though, Freddie D? I mean, why not? I mean, look, if you work him out, if it doesn't, you sign him to you sign him to the practice squad. If it doesn't work out, then you release his ass. I mean,
now Jarvis Landry, I would take more of a flyer on, just for the simple fact that with T.Y. Hilton, he's a street, because T.Y. Hilton's a go route guy, right? I mean, outside of that, he's not a possession guy. Because the problem the Chiefs are having is that they've got nobody that knows how to get open in space. They've got nobody that knows how to find a crease or that knows how to find a spot in a zone and just sit down in it, right? Yeah. That's the thing that made, I saw somebody on Twitter talking about, Juju wasn't a difference maker. No. Juju was a difference maker last year because Juju is a professional wide receiver who, A, is an incredible route runner, B, is a big dude, to your point, and C, knows how to find the empty flat zones in a zone defense. And you saw it time and time again last year with him. And Pat trusted him and knew, okay, if you've got two guys hovering, he's going to find that spot in the middle of the zone where the defense isn't at. And look, it may have only been a 6 or 7 yard gain, but guess what? Would you rather have 3rd and 3 or 3rd and long?
Yeah. And you knew he was going to catch the damn ball. I mean, he was
going to catch the ball. That's the difference. You knew he was going to catch the ball.
25 or 26 drops this season so far.
26 drops.
26 drops at least the NFL. And I don't think there's anybody close.
I think the next closest team has 23, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, and they're probably well under 500. I mean,
exactly. It's probably I can't remember who the team was, and then of course, as you and I were talking about earlier today, your Mahomes' incompletions, 21% of his incompletions are drops.
Drop passes.
So 1 out of 5 1 out of 5 Patrick Mahomes incomplete passes are the result of a ball being dropped.
Right. And how many of his 8 interceptions are the result of passes that were bounced off of somebody's hands or shoulder pads into the arms of a defender?
I know he's 2 or 3 because he's thrown some. There's been some throws.
There's been some bad throws. I get it. I understand. Yeah, he's had some warts, but he's the reason why. Well, aside from the defense, obviously, I mean, he's the reason why they're 7-3.
Look, this offense, if you had any other quarterback that wasn't elite, this team would be the Chargers.
Oh, yeah. I mean, if you had Derek Carr behind center, behind Creed Humphrey, yeah.
Look, they're ready to get rid of him in New Orleans.
Well, Derek Carr is Derek Carr. He holds onto the ball too long. He fumbles the ball when he gets hit. And, he's too fragile right now. Now he's got a concussion, right, and a tweaked knee.
Although they said he might be back after the bye, but
well, you know what? I mean, you hear Saints radio, and they're saying, take your time. We got Jameis. We're okay with it, So we'll see. But anyway, listen, tomorrow's Turkey Day 2023. We got
You damn right it is, Mike.
and
You
we
damn
got a
right
full
it
slate of
is.
games on Thursday, and we have our first ever Black Friday affair. So a total of 4 games between now and Sunday. And what's even more compelling for EDD is all 4 games are divisional matchups.
Yeah, they are. And,
right?
And between me and you and the folks listening, if I have to hear one more thing about the brilliance of Amazon and playing this game on Friday, and everybody's like, well, they're doing it so people will order stuff. Yeah, no shit. I mean, like really? I mean, I had like that. Of course it was. I mean, look, it was brilliant that Amazon decided to post. And oh, by the way, you can stream it free on Friday. Okay, so you don't even have to have Amazon Prime to watch the game on Friday.
Well, I'm certain Amazon is finally happy that they finally got a game that people are going to watch, because what was Thursday's game before? It was Chicago against Carolina. I mean, what a
that was a Thursday night game. Although the last Thursday night game, well, no, the last Thursday night game was good until Burrow. Well, it was good for a half, and then Burrow, blew out his wrist.
Right.
Can we get him a girlfriend? Gee, many Christmas. I mean, come on, good for God's sakes. What's guy having wrist and forearm problems? You're an all-time great right now. All right, you got a Detroit team tomorrow who is, I think I just saw, actually I saw a meme. The last time the Detroit Lions were 8-2, there was restaurants and most public places were not fully segregated yet. Or no, I'm sorry, we're not fully integrated yet. Okay? So black folks had to sit in their own section of a restaurant the last time. There were still colored sections and colored water fountains, for Christ's sakes, folks. The last time Detroit Lions.
Separate but equal was the law of the land. You fucking believe that?
Unreal.
And they're going. Look, they're also going for their first division crown in 30 years.
I think our boy Henry Thomas was on that last
1993. 1993 was their first NFC title, or their last.
Okay, he was not on that team. He was on I think he was on the 95 team. That they may not have won the division, but I know they made the playoffs.
Yeah, they've made the playoffs since then several times, but to out and out win the division from either the Bears or, of course, the Packers, really the Packers, it's been 30 years, and they've got a shot. Certainly, they are one game back of the 2
No, they're one game. They're one game. I think they're
like
a game and a half.
One game back of the Eagles for the supremacy in the NFC.
Yeah.
So, and they're facing a Green Bay team that has been absolutely struggling, and
just got off the schneid.
Yeah, but they've got a lot of issues, and if they didn't have enough issues, their running back Aaron Jones is doubtful with a knee injury. Their backup A.J. Dillon is questionable with a groin pull. Jordan Love's been up and down all season, especially the last 3 games. I mean, he was good against the 2 LA teams, but sandwiched that against a terrible performance at Pittsburgh against the Steelers, where he threw.
Would you take a flyer on Romeo Doubs?
I mean, why not? I mean, I don't know. I mean, Love's playing hard. I just don't see enough. I just don't see enough progression out of him this year, considering all of the stuff that we heard out of the locker room and the front office from Green Bay on how much better he's been with his release point and his footwork, but it's just not been there. But listen, the defense for the Green Bay Packers really hasn't stepped up either, Freddie D. They've forced only 9 turnovers all season. That's 29th in the NFL. So, and they're facing a Detroit team that is just on high. They are drinking Dan Campbell's Kool-Aid, and why not? I mean, he's an energetic coach. He says all the right things. I loved, sorry to get back to week 1, that victory against the Chiefs, when some stupid-ass reporter said, hey, what did you learn about your team today? And he said, I didn't learn anything.
Yeah.
It was confirmed. Right. I fucking love that answer, man.
Did you know he was an A&M guy?
No, but I still like him.
No, so apparently, a little side note here. Him and Aaron Glenn are both A&M guys.
Aaron Glenn,
And
I knew about. I didn't know about Dan
I think
Campbell.
they may have played together, if I'm not mistaken, at A&M. Now, Dan Campbell has gone on the record as saying that, and this is from the owner of my company, who's a A&M. And look, A&M people take their sports to a different level, which is funny considering that they're not good at anything. But
they're not really good at anything, really.
You know, I mean, you guys got all this money and you ain't won shit.
No.
Well,
they don't have money. Their head coach says.
Well, but anyway. Yeah, he's taking it all right. Although you know that the day that Saturday that the day before they fired him, they presented the athletic department with a $160 million check. So that pretty much covered all that. I mean,
they knew that they were going to fire him, not to get off the rails here, but they knew they were going to fire him Friday morning.
Well, that's right. They knew they'd already agreed on Friday, and then they unveiled the $160 million check at halftime of that game of the game the next day.
Check to who?
The two donors, boosters, whatever. Gave the athletic department a wink, wink. Here's $160 million because guess what? We're going to announce tomorrow that by the way, we're going to owe this shithead of a coach $80 million for the next 7 or 8 years. And the thing is, and like I said, since we're on this topic, I mean, think about it. They're going to, I mean, you're going to pay upwards of $150 million between removing the old staff and hiring a new staff.
Right. Yeah.
That's bonkers. Almost as bonkers as what Detroit's doing this year, considering that, it was one of those deals where going into this season, we knew that they finished the year on a high note last year. And it's always kind of hit or miss as to whether a team will take that next step the following season when all the hype's on them and everybody's excited and what have you. And they have certainly lived up to that billing. I mean, hell, like you said, they got the week 1 matchup against the Chiefs, won that game. And so that pretty much, outside of getting boat raced by Baltimore one week, they've been one of the best teams in the AFC, or excuse me, in the NFL. And Mike Babbo, for as kind of lopsided as the whole Jahmyr Gibbs, David Montgomery situation was at the very beginning of the season, you're sitting there thinking to yourself, why did you waste a number 12 overall pick for a guy that was barely getting any touches? Montgomery gets hurt, surprise, surprise. He balls for 2 or 3 weeks. And then between the last few weeks, these guys together have combined for over 300 yards. Mike Babbo, I'm telling you right now, and you already know this, Jared Goff, who catches a lot of flack, all right, has been to a Super Bowl before. You've got a Ben Johnson, who's going to be a head coach next year somewhere. Yeah. And you've got great wide receivers, one of the best tight ends in the NFL. And now you've got a 2-headed monster at running back. And, oh, by the way, you've got one of the best O-lines in the NFL.
Yeah, they got one of the best O-lines in the NFL. They got one of the best D-lines in the NFL. They are near the bottom in 23 sacks, with only 23 sacks. They're near the bottom half, but they're third in quarterback in hurries. But getting back to your point about Gibbs and Montgomery, they got 13 rushing touchdowns between the two of them, total of 16, including I think two by Goff. That's tied. That's third in the NFL, and so they are running on all cylinders. I think Jared Goff gets a lot of flack because after that Super Bowl performance, he just came down to earth with a thud the Rams the year afterwards, and then he got traded in that big deal where Matthew Stafford went to the Rams and then Goff went to the Lions, but the Lions made out like bandits in that trade.
Yeah, they did.
They got a couple of high draft picks, and they've got a quarterback who's playing a lot better and a lot healthier. I think a lot younger. I think he's 4 years younger than Matt Stafford, who's got had his share of back injuries.
Oh, absolutely. No, Jared Goff is definitely younger than Matt Stafford.
Yeah. So I think the Lions have made out very, very well so far in the last couple of years. And to your point, Fred, I mean, they finished out really, really strong. And you just hope that it wasn't a letdown. But then they go into Kansas City, who are raising the banner for the World Championship. Boom! They beat them on the road on a Thursday night where all of Chiefs Kingdom is all fired up, and they just hit them in the mouth, and so good for them. Look, the spread is 7.5 to the Lions. They're at home, obviously. First game Thursday morning, excuse me, and I think they cover handily on this one.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I think it's one of those deals where maybe Green Bay hangs around for 3 quarters, but then Detroit does enough, and probably their running game kind of wears them down at the end. I could see this being like a 27 to you said the spread was 7.5?
7.5.
That is kind of a tough number, though. I could see it being like 27-17 or something like that, or maybe 30-17, somewhere in that ballpark. But I'm with you. I like Detroit to take care of business in this ball game. The second ball game of the day is going to be the Dallas Cowboys and the Washington Commanders. Really, I mean, look, this is one of those games where, it's a divisional matchup. Yeah, it's the Cowboys on Thanksgiving, so we're excited about that. But the reality is that the Cowboys have beaten the brakes off of teams that are sub 500. They're kind of like the NFC version of the Miami Dolphins, where it's like, look, we know you guys have weapons, we know you guys have a high potent offense, and we know you got a defense that can be tricky at times. But we haven't seen you beat anybody with a winning record, and that we know is going to be in the conversation at the end of the year. I mean, if they go out and beat the shit out of the Commanders tomorrow, okay.
You're supposed to.
And from a divisional game, I could see them beating the brakes off of the Commanders, and I could see this game being 34-31, and they have to kick a field goal at the end just because it's a divisional game.
Commanders. Divisional game, it's the Cowboys. I mean, they don't necessarily. Well, I mean, they did blow out Carolina last week. I mean, that game was over by halftime. They've had a couple of blowout victories, but like you said, against some really, really poor teams. Against nobody. I mean, and of course they for some odd reason they laid an egg in week 3 against the Arizona Cardinals with Joshua Dobbs as their quarterback. And the one true opponent that they had, the two true opponents they had, San Francisco. They were in San Francisco. They got boat raced by them 42-10. And then, of course, they went to Philadelphia, lost there as well. So they're beating up on little brother like the Giants and the Panthers and the Patriots. Okay, great. So you probably should beat the Commanders. You probably should cover the 12.5-point spread. The Commanders and Ron Rivera, they're circling the drain. They were 29th, Fred, in defense and points per games, and then they figured out, let's go ahead and trade Montez Sweat to the Bears. Let's go ahead and trade Chase Young to the Niners. Can't get any worse. Well, guess what? It did. Now they're in the bottom at 32nd in points per game. So, and this is a Ron Rivera coach team. So,
Ron's on his way. Look, Ron's just waiting for that severance package.
The only question is, when is Ron Rivera going to be fired? And that, I know we're saving that for a little bit later, but I mean, the Cowboys should win this going away. They got way too many weapons. The only problem with the Cowboys that I have is that their run game is a little anemic. They're like 20th in yards per attempt. So, and Dak Prescott is throwing the ball. I think he's averaging like 41 attempts a game. For a guy
but he's going off the last few weeks.
He's gone off again the last few weeks, but that's against the Giants and against the Panthers.
But exactly. Well, that's the thing, right? You're saying, look, are they going to be able to run the ball when they're going to need to?
Right. Are they going to run the ball against the Seahawks defense? Are they going to run the ball against the Eagles? Are they going to? I mean, their schedule actually for D is not too hard the rest of the way. The only hard game, well, they've got 2 road games back to back, 15 and 16. They travel to Buffalo, and then they travel to Miami. They're probably going to stay on the East Coast, and then they just fly down.
Okay, so it's going to get real for the Cowboys here pretty soon. Real quick, can you tell the folks at home, it's a holiday weekend, and family and friends and what have you getting ready to go down. What do you got there in that little cup you're drinking out of? I see. What you got? What's in Cup de Babo right here? What we got going on there?
A Midori margarita with B-Rock's special blend of tequila and whatnot, and it's got a little splash of Midori in it.
Ladies and gentlemen, when you see if you see angry, violent, or just ridiculous text later on from the Bitter Mike, you'll know why. You'll know why.
No, Freddie D.
You're not a drunk tweeter?
There are many types of drunks. I am a romantic drunk. And you can ask B-Rock. He will confirm. I am a romantic drunk.
Mike, couldn't you argue that at some point we're all romantic drunks?
No, there's mean drunks, there's happy drunks, there's talkative drunks, there's quiet drunks. I'm a romantic drunk. The night of my bachelor party, I called her up like 15 times on my cell phone. I love you, and they confiscated my phone. They said,
"Yeah, but I mean, as they should have. I mean,
as they should."
We're trying to get drunk here. You're loving up on your wife, for God's sakes. I mean, you're getting ready to spend the rest of your life with her, for crying out loud. Give it a break. Give it a break.
What a great life it has been, my friend.
It has been. V-Rock, Woman of the Year. I don't know if that is I know in today's society we like to give those awards to trans, but you know what? God bless a true blue American woman in Veronica Babo. All right, so you and I are both on the Dallas Cowboys. Like you said, Ron's just lining up TV gigs for next year, and Eric Bieniemy's probably sitting there, has his people talking to the new Commanders owner, saying, Look at what I'm working with. Look at what I've been able to do with Sam Howell. And, oh, by the way, take a look at that Chiefs offense without me there. Just saying.
I actually flipped the attempts. Sam Howell's the one that it's averaging more than 40 attempts per game. But you're right. I mean, Eric Bieniemy's got their offense, pretty decent.
He's bought himself some serious love this year. Say what you want about the Commanders, and we know they're a fucking debacle of an organization, and Josh Harris has his work cut out for him, and Magic and everybody else, and whatever, who cares? But Bieniemy has done exactly what he needed to do with this team.
Yeah.
All right. Because look, you could say what you want about the Commanders, or 4-7, whatever. And yes, there's games where Howell will throw 3 picks, and you're sitting there scratching your head, going, "Okay, this guy looks like he should never quarterback another NFL team." And then he comes back the next day, goes for 350, 3 touchdowns, and you're saying to yourself, "Okay, maybe this guy is a bona fide NFL quarterback." I mean, look, he's leading the league in yards, or is like 2 or 3 or something.
Yeah, and this is only his 13th career start. I mean, but also, that defense sucks so bad. They made Tommy DeVito look like the second coming of Joe Montana.
Yeah, what did he throw for 3 touchdowns that game or something?
I mean, come on, Tommy the fucking DeVito? Are you kidding me?
Tommy motherfucking the passing paisan.
I mean, come on. I mean, the defense has allowed only 6 rushing touchdowns, but probably because they've allowed 24 passing touchdows, which is like a league worst, I think. I mean,
and it doesn't help when you're a defensive-minded coach, by the way. Real quick. Sam Howell, okay? Yeah. He leads the league in yards, all right? So he's thrown for over 3,000 yards. He's got 18 touchdowns, 12 picks. All right, like you said, it's his 13th, and that team's not great. And, oh, by the way, he also leads the league in sack yardage, meaning that he's been sacked to the tune of he leads the league in sacks, as in he's been sacked 51 times for 343 yards, which is a number that does not get tossed out nearly enough. So again,
you're telling me that this fool has been sacked an average of 6 times a game?
Show him what he's won. That's exactly right. He's getting the bejesus beat out of him. That's something that I don't think.
That's David Carr territory, bro.
Oh, it absolutely is. That's Andrew Luck, the whole 9. So look. We talk about how much Bryce Young is getting the shit beat out of him. Okay,
he may like fuck this.
But you know what? Bryce Young has been sacked 15 fewer times than Sam Howell. Okay, and then, oh, by the way, the guy that that everybody loves to hate in Zach Wilson, and look, I get it. Zach Wilson has been great. He's second in the NFL and has been sacked 38 times. Hell, Daniel Jones, who's been out, half the season, is 5th in the NFL and being sacked 30 times. So what's that tell you, for Christ's sake? I mean, good night.
What's it telling me is there's just some really bad offensive line.
Oh, man.
And then, you know what? And we should just
my friend.
And so Chiefs Kingdom should thank their lucky stars. Well, they should thank their lucky stars.
You know what? They absolutely should. You know what? And I don't want to hear, oh, by the way, I'm glad you know what? I'm really glad you brought that up, Mike. And that was, by the way, I did not.
I'm here to help.
I did not tee you off on that.
Nope.
Just so you know, you have to go to the second page of the NFL.com stats page to get to how many times Pat Mahomes has been sacked on the year, which is 13.
That's insane.
Okay, so think about that. All right, so the next time some Tom, Dick, or Hank or Joe Schmuckatelli, who I've been fighting with people on Twitter about, the O-line, he's been sacked, what, a sack a game.
Well, it's easy when the guy has eyes in the back of his head.
And no, look, he's got.
And
I get it.
We don't need to get off
that.
this, but I mean, the thing is that the thing that makes Patrick Mahomes so great, besides his footwork, besides his improvisation, is the clock in his head. Okay, he has the pocket awareness like nobody. All right, he knows when to move. He knows when to get the hell out of there. He knows when to tuck and run, and be smart with it.
He knows when you've been
bad or good. Receivers, right? He has to. So anyway,
he knows when you've been bad or good. So be good for goodness sakes.
That's right.
All right, last game. By the way, you and I are both on Dallas, correct?
Oh yeah.
Okay,
I may be taking a chance here by laying the 12.5, but the Commanders are so fucking bad, and the Cowboys are 4-0 at home.
Yeah, no, I'm with you on that. Last game of the day tomorrow. This game kicks off at 7:20. It's on NBC. You've got the San Francisco 49ers at the Seattle Seahawks. Seattle let one slip away this past week. Now, granted, I didn't realize that your boy Geno Smith got hurt at the end of that game. And, of course, Missouri's very own Drew Lock, who, Drew, I'll tell you what, Mizzou, which likes to claim it's got one of the best journalism programs in America, I don't know. I'm kind of, privy to my Kansas Jayhawks. But that being said, you know what they do turn out really well? You know what Mizzou is great at turning out? Lifelong backup quarterbacks, okay? If you're a Mizzou quarterback and you get drafted in the NFL, you're not going to mount this shit as a starter, but by God, you will make a career as a backup, all right? Drew Lock, who's now in year 4 or 5 of being a backup, we all know the legend that is Chase Daniel.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, Chase Daniel, who's now doing, his own YouTube channel, all that kind of stuff. I mean, now you could do a YouTube channel too, and you got $40 million for not doing shit. And Chiefs' very own backup, Blaine Gabbert. Blaine Gabbert. Yeah. So there you go. So, like I said, I don't, Mizzou, as far as I'm concerned, is one of the most overrated.
We are going to make you just good enough not to start in the NFL.
Look,
and you are not going to get CTE. You're not going to get knee injuries. You're not going to have to get a spleen removed. None of that shit, man. You're going to carry a clipboard. You're going to be in the room. You're going to say yes, sir, and hope that you're going to be one play away, but
and even if you are one play away, nobody expects you to do shit anyway because you're a backup quarterback. Nobody cares. So yeah, hats off to the Mizzou backups, continuing a
wonderful
tradition of football mediocrity. That being said, Geno Smith is supposed to be back tomorrow. That's going to be big for them. You need him back, especially sitting there at 6-4. But like I said, we're going to see a lot of jockeying for position. I think what we want to see, if you're a San Francisco 49er fan tomorrow, that defense really turned it up last week. I expect to see more of that again this week. I think you're going to see Chase Young really start to get his sea legs under him, as you alluded to earlier, Mike.
Well, he already did last week. He already created some serious havoc. I mean, I think he even.
Well, that's what I'm saying. But you figure now. I mean, look, you figure now this is going to be what, week 3 now, or the 3rd week that he's played with this group.
It could be. I thought
because they played who'd they play last week? Because he played Jackson. Was it Jacksonville?
They played Tampa Bay. They played Jacksonville.
That's right.
They beat the brakes off of Jacksonville, and then they went to Tampa Bay and beat them up pretty good too. So they won 2 in a row coming out of the bye.
Tampa did hang around that game a little bit. Tampa did hang around that game a little bit.
They did, but I mean, in V-Rock could attest to that. She was a little bit worried, but they were down 14 points, I think.
Yeah, it was 13. It was 27-14.
Baker Mayfield kept on throwing interceptions. But look, I mean, that Niners defense is fucking nasty and loaded. Look, everyone's talking about Nick Bosa being an MVP candidate, a defensive player of the year candidate. I don't even think he's the best player on that defense. Freddie D. I think Fred Warner is. I think he's the most valuable player on that defense.
Hands down. No, Fred Warner is what makes that defense tick. There's no question about it. Although they did just lose
Afonga, the strong safety. He tore his ACL in garbage time. Honestly, I think last week at Tampa Bay. So that's a big loss. But the rest of that defense, as a matter of fact, the rest of that team is pretty healthy. They got Deebo Samuel back, and he was making some things happen, of course. But I'll tell you what, Brandon Ayuk, the fourth-year man out of Arizona State, him and Brock Purdy have got this thing going on pretty deep.
Absolutely.
I mean, he is getting open, and the yards after catch is just phenomenal. And, of course, they have Mr. Everything, the Swiss Army knife, Christian McCaffrey, who got in the end zone last week again after breaking the 17-game winning touchdown streak the week before when he did not score a touchdown against Jacksonville. That's okay. They didn't need him. Look, and SF has won 3 in a row in this divisional matchup. And this is very, very important for the Seahawks because by losing last week in that heartbreaker, they fell a game behind the Niners in the divisional matchup. And their next 4 weeks are pretty tough. I mean, because they play the Niners 2 of the next 3 weeks, right? They play them tomorrow. Then they travel to Dallas. Then they travel to San Francisco. And then at home against the 8-1 Eagles. So,
well, we're going to know about
this matchup is huge. This is probably the easiest game on their schedule for the next 4 weeks.
You talking about Seattle?
Call it that.
Yeah, no, Seattle. Look, Seattle. We're going to know about Seattle real quick. Seattle's either going to be in the thick of the playoff contention or going to be out of it after these next 4 weeks. But
right, and the other thing too is that they're banged up in the backfield. Kenneth Walker, their starting running back, he's doubtful with an oblique strain that he suffered last week against the Rams. And their rookie second-round pick out of UCLA, he's questionable. Zach Charbonnet. No, he's not. Well, he's listed as questionable, but he's going to play. So we'll see. I mean, like I said, I mean, the Niners, I don't know how the GM John Lynch does it. I mean, he finds these diamonds in the rough. I mean, it's just amazing what he's been able to do. He should be GM. They should just name the assistant, the executive trophy after him. The way he makes these trades for McCaffrey and for Young. He doesn't worry, like unlike Brett Veach, he doesn't worry about fucking draft picks. He wants to win now. He knows he's got the depth.
But that being said, if you're, Brett Veach can always say, well, oh, by the way, I've been to 3 Super Bowls and won 2 of them.
That's true.
I mean, he's got the ultimate burn on all of us.
He's got pelts.
So, there was one thing I was going to tell you. Oh, by the way, looking at these stats real quick, just to go back to these ridiculous stats.
Yeah.
Tommy DeVito, the passing paisan. He started 2 games. He's played in 4 this year. Has already been sacked 22 times. So just a little food for thought there.
And why don't you just go ahead and give us Danny Dimes' sack totals? Did you say what? How many? 50?
Yeah, no, he's already been sacked. Okay, great point. So between the 2 of them,
yeah, right.
Between the 2 of them, Danny Dimes has gotten sacked 30 times. Let me make sure I got this right. Daniel Jones. So Dave. Okay, so if you combine the Giants quarterbacks, they technically have been sacked more times than Sam Howell.
Unreal.
They've been sacked 52. So the Giants offensive line has allowed 52 sacks this year, one ahead of the Washington Commanders, where Sam Howell has been sacked 51 times already this year. That being said, are you and I both in agreement that we think the San Francisco 49ers are going to win tomorrow night?
So the Seahawks are a 7.5-point dog at home. The Niners are going to win. I don't know if they'll cover because it's a divisional matchup.
Okay.
They should, especially if Geno Smith gets hurt again. But you know what, Geno, he's thrown.
What's the spread?
7.5. Geno's thrown 8 picks this year. And now
it all depends on if you're right. It all depends. Look, if Geno plays, they cover the spread. That's it.
Okay.
If Geno plays, They cover the spread.
Yeah, because he's been distributing the rock to his twin towers, DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett. They've got 7 TDs between them and 1,100 yards as well. So, and that's going to be necessary if Walker is out. But that Niner defense, especially against the run, they are just fucking incredible. I mean, so it remains to be seen. But I'm with you, Freddie D. I think the Niners win. I'm not sure if they cover. And also, as we start moving into December, Seattle weather starts to get really, really ugly. And they love that open air stadium with the wind and the mist and just the rain. And
so are you going with Seattle to cover?
I'm going with Seattle to cover that 7.5 points.
And you and I are both in agreement on Detroit, correct?
Oh, yeah. Detroit's going to cover. The Packers, yeah.
Where are you at on Washington, Dallas?
Oh, God. Dallas is going to cover. You know what? I mean, Dallas just likes to beat up and just step on the necks of the really bad teams, and I think they will do the same thing.
I think this is the last. I think Washington's playing on fumes, but I do think that they've got I think this is one of those, like, you know, it's a primetime game, maybe the last primetime game they play all season, and this might be the proverbial win one for the Gipper type deal for their boy Ron Rivera.
I think the Cowboys actually play a week from tomorrow as well.
Oh, okay. Now that makes sense. I could see that. Look, I think Dallas wins tomorrow, but I think Washington does cover that 12.5 point spread.
They do. They host the Seattle Seahawks a week from tomorrow as well.
Okay, so we got back-to-back Thursday night games. I like it.
Thursday nights with the Cowboys.
All right, we're pushing an hour. And
I'm going to give you a hot take. If this is like a 20-point game, let's say a 40-20 or whatever, Ron Rivera does not see the light of day.
Ooh. Say that again.
If this is a blowout, Ron Rivera does not coach week 13. I think they've seen enough.
I love that take. I love that take. The only thing I'm going to say is this: I don't see them firing him during a Thanksgiving weekend.
Okay, so they wait till Monday.
I could see him giving him one more week.
Okay.
I could see him giving him one more week. But I look, if it happened, would I be surprised? No. I love the take. I think you might be onto something there. You get a jump start on the rest of the coaching searches.
Sure.
You've got Eric Bieniemy in-house. And
his offense isn't half bad.
Let me tell you something right now. They would get a lot of love if they gave Eric Bieniemy the interim coaching job for the last 5 weeks of the season.
Sure.
I'll tell you what, I'm going to go ahead and piggyback off what you're saying. I think you could see Antonio Pierce-like resurgence if you put Eric Bieniemy as head coach.
Yeah.
Dude, look, Ron Rivera, look, God bless him. He's been through whatever the fuck he's been through.
Yeah.
You know, he's the only fucking Hispanic coach in the NFL. So, you know what? My hat's off to him. You're a trailblazer. All right? Have you heard that dude?
Tom Flores does, but that's okay.
What's that?
Tom Flores was a trailblazer, but that's okay.
He was. I get it. But look, there ain't many of y'all hanging around the NFL right now, okay?
No.
It's you and Rivera, okay? That's about it right now.
Yeah.
And you got Rivera leaving this weekend.
I mean, look, he got Cam Newton killed in Carolina, and then he moves over to Washington. Now, granted, he had to put up with Dan Snyder for all those years. Now he's gone, thank God. But you're right. I mean, we've seen we're going to see in this again. Look, this is a defensive-minded coach with Jack Del Rio that is in the bottom in nearly every defensive category out there.
Well, and let's be real. Like, I saw a stat a week or so ago about Ron Rivera. Outside of like that one Super Bowl run, dude's like 7-9 is what you get out of Ron Rivera. Like that's the bar with Ron Rivera. Okay, like literally, Ron Rivera has been riding the. Look, I'll tell you what, being the only Hispanic dude in the NFL has made him a lot of money. Okay. Yeah. It really, really has. And you know what? I ain't mad at you for it, Ron. God bless you. You've ridden that thing out for as long as you can. But you know what? To your point, Mike, I think you're right. I think if they get boat race this weekend, I think it might be Toodles to one Ron Rivera.
Real quick. In his 13-year career, he's had 3 winning seasons.
Okay. I'm done. That's all I need to know. Vaya con Dios, Ron. Vaya con Dios.
Oh my God, Freddie D, you are on fire. All right, final.
Ron's gonna be doing. Ron's gonna be the Telemundo NFL expert next year at this time.
He's going to be doing the Spanish language broadcast of the Washington Commanders game, probably. I don't know.
We're gonna be watching Telemundo for Hot Weather Girls and
ESPN
Deportes weekend breakdown.
Me llamo Ron Rivera. ¿Cómo te llamas? Me alegre. Okay.
That's it. All right, real quick. Real quick. Miami Jets. I think you and I are both in agreement on this. You and I have talked ad nauseum all week about this. I think the question. I'm gonna set the over under 3.5. Tim Boyle interceptions.
Total interceptions?
Total interceptions, 3.5 over under.
Oh, over.
Okay.
I mean, but the Dolphins' defense is not that great. But we talked about this before we went on air.
Tim Boyle's about to make the Dolphins' defense look like the 72 Dolphins. Okay. I'm going to say this one thing, and then we're going to move on. Before this week, 2 days ago, did you know who Tim Boyle was?
No, fuck no. Well, you know what? I did, only because last week's show I had to look him up because there was so much controversy as to what to do with Zach Wilson. I said, what the fuck are you going to do? You're going to put in Tim Boyle? He had 120 career attempts and 3 touchdowns and 9 interceptions. That's the only reason I knew about him is because I looked him up. Other than that, no idea.
What's the spread Friday?
9.5, and I'm jumping on that.
Miami, and we're taking this all the way.
The only thing that gives me pause about this spread, Freddie D, is that it's in MetLife Stadium. It's cold. It's ugly. And the Dolphins don't play well on the road. They don't play well in cold weather.
I think, look, that's going to be one of those deals, I think, where they're going to go in and say, you know what, guys, let's go beat the shit out of these guys, get the fuck out of here and get back to Miami.
Speaking of beating the shit, I mean, the Dolphins may have won that game against the Raiders, but their offense got beat the fuck up. Devon Achane out in the first half against the Raiders. He's now questionable. Raheem Mostert also questionable. Tyreek Hill questionable. Look, I know these guys are going to play. Alec Ingold, he's questionable, highly questionable, as well as their entire offensive line, except for their center. Connor Williams, I think his name is. They're all questionable with various injuries, including the backup guard, Lester Cotton. So they got beat up during that game, even though they came ahead on the scoreboard. Now the Jets defense, conversely, they're relatively healthy. You know why? Because the Raiders didn't do anything offensively against them. But either way, I mean, they should win going away in a neutral field. But
no, this game's going to get ugly and get ugly fast.
Yeah.
All right, you and I are both in agreement on Miami taking care of business. Last but certainly not least, we have the Coach Hot Seat rankings. I'll do my 5 through 1. You do your 5 through 1, and then we'll. I know there's going to be some carryover on both, but I've made a few changes to mine this week. Although I do have my number 1, which dovetails beautifully with what you just said. But my number 5, Bill Belichick. Number 4, Sean McDermott. Number 3, Frank Reich. Number 2, Arthur Smith. And this week's number 1 in the Fred Davis Coach Hot Seat rankings. Telemundo's very own Ron Rivera.
So let me see. I'm going to put McDermott at 5.
He bought himself a little leeway after last week.
Yeah, he did. I think so.
He can also come crashing down, though.
I'm going to say I really think number 4 is Brandon Staley still. I think that defense, for him being a defensive they're really near the bottom there. I mean, honestly, I think that he probably should be number 3, but I'm just going to go ahead and give him the benefit of the doubt and say number 4. Here's one. How about Sean McVay? I mean, ever since that Super Bowl,
you're crazy. They
just
hasn't
really done much of anything.
He ain't going anywhere. I'm not even gonna let you put him on the hot seat. Go ahead. Next one.
You're not going to let me put him on the hot seat?
I'm not gonna let you put him on the hot seat rankings. That's how ridiculous that suggestion was.
Why? Because he's young?
What are they gonna? What would they fire him? Okay, here's what I want you to think about.
Their offense is putrid. Putrid.
Well, yeah, but look, they're also $72 million in dead cap money. I mean, you want to talk about a team that's played fast and loose with the roster building. Jesus Christ. If Sean McVay got fired the day after the Super Bowl.
Okay, fine. Okay, I'll put number 3. I'll put Frank Reich.
I was gonna say, let's be real.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, number 2, Mike Vrabel.
Ooh, you know what? He got a question the other day in a post-game press conference about if his seat was hot.
Yeah, I saw that.
Look at.
I'm not worried about that. I'm worried about the guy.
Bring on Babbo. I'll tell you what, my man was on this before anybody else. All right, Vrabel number 2. I left Vrabel off my 5 just be out of deference to you because I felt like, you know what, my man did that before anybody else did. I'm not jumping on that bandwagon just yet.
No, not yet.
Now you did go complete. I mean, you went full heel today with fucking Sean McVay number 3. I mean.
I just think that ever since their Super Bowl, they've been garbage. I mean, and so maybe
they haven't been. No, you're right.
Wait. I'm not saying it makes sense, but you know what? Did it make sense that they got rid of Ken Dorsey, the offensive coordinator for Buffalo? I mean, it's easier to fire one guy than 53.
You know what? Here's the thing. I was okay. I didn't like it until I heard OJ say he was okay with it. And as soon as OJ said he was okay with the Ken Dorsey firing.
Yeah, because you love your Orenthal James Simpson. You love your OJ takes. I know.
Look, I'm going to tell you right now, again, like I said, I wouldn't ask him for marital advice. But when it comes to football.
Yeah. All right. Number 1, which is obvious because I already got him out the door. I don't even think they'll let him on the plane afterwards.
Damn.
Is Ron Rivera.
That's how you doing your own people, huh? That's how you doing your own people?
Dude.
That's how it starts, Mike.
I don't care. I don't care what you do. All right. I don't care who you are. I don't care what you look like. You got to perform. All right. You can put on pink leotards and watch Richard Simmons on Saturday mornings.
So okay. Number 5. So Sean McDermott. Here's the thing. Okay. So you and I are
Brandon Staley, Frank Reich, Mike Vrabel, Ron Rivera.
So back-to-back weeks where we both have 3 on our list. We overlap 3. McDermott, Reich, and Rivera.
Yeah,
and you and I are both.
We're rearranging the deck chairs of the Titanic.
We are, but you and I are. But for the first time, you and I are both simpatico on. We have Ron Rivera number 1. And by the way, just so the folks know, I did my hot seat ranking before the show. So that way, and I had no idea Mike was going to go scorched earth and have, and throw poor Ron Rivera and all his trailblazing out on the street like a dog. Didn't know he was going to do that. Not sure I'm okay with it, but you know what? If Mike says it's okay, by God,
hey,
I'm okay with
it. I'm gonna kick one of my own to the curb.
Only you can.
It's all about win.
You can.
You can.
Si se puede. Si se puede. Last but certainly,
or if you're Joe Biden, si se puede.
Or in the words of our former president, Puerto Rico. We love our neighbors in Puerto Rico.
He hates the mayor.
All right, so big game, and then of course, by the way, who do you like in the Michigan-Ohio State game Saturday?
Oh, I like that quarterback McCarthy. I think that's his name for Michigan. I think we're going to get it done.
JJ, I think.
Yeah, I mean he's going to be.
Does it worry you that Michigan hasn't fucking played anybody?
Neither is Ohio State. I mean, really, their one quality win was against Notre Dame, and they should have lost.
Oh, they absolutely should have lost that game.
They should have lost that fucking game because I think they didn't score the last touchdown, the go-ahead touchdown until the final seconds of the game. And we've seen Notre Dame. I mean, they suck. I mean, they got road raced by Clemson. They lost to, I think, Louisville as well. Louisville's got a good run. Louisville's tough, but I mean, the egg. And then they go beat up on the likes of Wake Forest and Duke. Big fucking deal,
And Duke, they needed a 4th and 18 conversion at the end.
Sam Hartman, their quarterback, not to get on this, but I'm a big Irish fan, but Sam Hartman, I am so fucking fed up with him. I'm so done with him. I was asking my buddy Joey Bag of Donuts, I call him, Joey Balistreri. I said, who is the backup and why are we not giving him a shot? Because coming off the bye, why the hell not? I mean, so anyway, I like Michigan in this game because they went to Happy Valley and they beat a tough Penn State team.
No, they did.
That place is hard to win a game. Hard.
Yeah, it's a tough place to shower too. Tell me, give me your. Give me your tease for Sunday. We got the Raiders. We got the Chiefs. We've been waiting all year for this, Mike Babbo. We've been waiting 12 weeks for this. 12 weeks we've been waiting for this game, Mike Babbo. 12 weeks. Like I told you already, we're not going to get into the game today. We're just gonna give you a little teaser.
For those of you.
Just a little something to tide you over until Sunday, okay, when we do our pregame show. Be sure to tune into that, 10:30, 10:45. That time's fluid. But it'll be sometime in there because Mike and I are kind of digging the pregame shit. Give me a tease for Sunday.
All right. So we all know about the struggles of the Raiders offense.
We do.
New head coach, new offensive coordinators, never called plays before this year. 4th round rookie quarterback who tends to hold on to the ball too long, tends to throw too many interceptions. We all know about the fact that they're going up against the number 3 defense in the Chiefs in points per game. But there is one soft underbelly on how this pedestrian Raiders offense can take advantage of. There is one Achilles heel.
Okay.
Of that Kansas City defense that the Raiders can exploit. And we will
Love
talk about that on Sunday morning.
Love it. Raiders exploit Chiefs Achilles heel defensively. Okay, fantastic. Mine's going to be, look, we all know that our boy Travis Kelce has had his way against this Raider team over the last 4 or 5 years. Evidenced last year by his 4-touchdown game in Arrowhead. Now, obviously, this game's going to be in Las Vegas. We also know that he's really the only fucking option that they have right now in the passing game. But I'm going to give you another reason on Sunday why this game means that much more to number 87 and why I expect him to break out of his funk that he's been going through in a big, big way. So Mike and I giving you some angles on Sunday to consider for what I expect to be. And I'm just telling y'all right now, barring something major development between now and Sunday, Mike's already said that spread was 9.5. I'm taking the Raiders the points. I do think the Chiefs win that game, but I do think the Raiders are going to make it competitive. So I'll just kind of tip that off right now. But we'll get more into it on Sunday morning. Last but certainly not least, I had a chance to talk to baby Babbo. Fine young man. Big reason why you look at his parents. What else is on the docket besides plenty of football and plenty of food? What's on the docket for the Thanksgiving Day Babbo menu?
Oh, man. Golf, and more golf. 2 years ago. Yeah. Baby Babbo got into golf. I think it was his Christmas of his junior season. We went out to the range, the local range, Mac Wiley out here before we joined the country club. And he said, I think I want to take this game up or whatever. He said, and I had a 5-lesson package with a guy out there. And I said, okay, why don't I go ahead and give you 1 or 2 lessons? By the end of his second lesson, we had already set him up with, bag, clubs, shoes, the whole 9 yards. And he is absolutely hooked because he's a family member of ours on our club. He's got at least 3 clubs, sister clubs, within a half an hour of his apartment in St. Petersburg. And he plays at least once a week, and he practices another time during the week when time permits. He absolutely love it. And let me tell you something, Freddie D. He just took a lesson from one of the pros out at Fair Oaks. And I watched this kid, and the guy put the TrackMan out there, and I watched this young man hit a 5-iron, 210 yards, 190 carry. I mean, that's just phenomenal. His ball speed was like 134 miles an hour, and that's
huh? So you and Baby Babbo will be duking it out tomorrow.
Yeah, this is going to be great. So not tomorrow, but Thursday we have Thanksgiving over at my brother's place at Dripping Springs. He smokes a turkey. I fry a turkey. We got 25 people. We have a little contest. I win every year because frying a turkey is mindless, and whereas he always fucking over smokes it and fucks it up. And and then on Friday we've got Mondo and I have a play 9 session. Where we will play with our respective coaches. He'll play with his teacher. I'll play with mine. It's going to be a nice foursome. It's going to be a lot of fun on Friday. And then on Saturday, we're playing with some dear friends of ours, Allison and Shane Haskins, and of course with the lovely and talented V-Rock. So we'll have a nice Friday, Saturday fivesome. And he's actually going to go playing with a friend of his Saturday afternoon. So he is on golf, as I say. So, well, hey, he's 22 years old.
We're just thinking about all that. Good.
Exactly. So we got a great weekend planned. What about you, Freddie D?
Man, let me tell you something. I'm gonna keep it real this weekend. I'm, kicking it with friends tomorrow. I'm gonna eat a lot and then work and lay low. Climb a roof or two. Who knows? I mean, we'll see. Right. You know what we're gonna do? We're not gonna get in any car accidents. I can tell you that.
God, yeah, knock on wood on that.
I can tell you that much. So no. Look, my family's all, Miriam's with her mom for Thanksgiving. My son's in Kansas. I decided to stay here just because, I just figured, I'll go down for Christmas or something like that. But I just figured, let me stay. Like I said, post accident, still kind of getting back in the flow of everything. I figured, let's keep things simple.
Lay low. So, let's not chance it. All right. And let's hope any of our viewers and listeners don't chance it either. If you've had too much to drink, by all means, by God, toss the keys to somebody else. Make sure they're sober. Or Uber, there's so many options out there these days. That we didn't have, and by the grace of God, we didn't do anything too stupid. So you really have no excuse.
I did a lot of
family and friends want to see you the day after Thanksgiving and beyond. So please, whatever you do it safe and have fun and have a great.
Look, as somebody who's had a DUI or two, I'm just going to tell you right now, Uber is definitely cheaper every time.
Yeah, it's not worth it. It's not worth it
every time, unless you're taking an Uber to Gaza. Okay, it'll be cheaper to do an Uber than it will be for an attorney. Okay,
probably safer too.
Just saying. By the way, shout out to Gaza. They got the 4-day pause right now. They're going to be letting some hostages go.
Yeah,
hopefully that thing clears itself out. But a lot of stuff going on. A lot to be thankful for this weekend, Mike Babbo. A lot of stuff to be thankful for this weekend. So I'm thankful for everybody here. I'm thankful to Mike Babbo. I'm thankful to our Hall of Fame nominee and best defensive tackle of all time, Henry Thomas.
Absolutely.
Thankful to our boy Tab for being the brains behind all this and putting all this together. And thankful for everybody listening and participating and just, I'll tell you what I'm not thankful for. Chiefs wide receivers, okay? Not thankful for you guys, all right? Catch a fucking ball, all right? But anyway, I am thankful for Pat Mahomes, though. I am thankful for Pat Mahomes. And
you should be.
Yes, I am. So anyway, look, everybody, I hope you guys have a wonderful Thanksgiving. I hope you guys eat too much. I hope you guys enjoy all the football, and I hope you enjoy friends and family. Hopefully it doesn't get too political, and if it does, God bless. For the one, the only Mike Babbo, I'm still that dude, Freddie D. From H-Town to San Antonio, Kansas City, at all points, east, west, and in between. Have a happy Thanksgiving. Good night. God bless.
See ya.
Boom. My man.